Hello and welcome to Otterwood Cottage, where we're building a brand new small holding in the heart of the Lincolnshire countryside. I'm Emma and we're delighted to have you along with us. So I'm in the dairy this morning with our dehydrator and some tomatoes. I'm going to have a go at making air-dried tomatoes, I guess. You can't really call them sun-dried tomatoes, because the tomatoes are coming in thick and fast from the polytunnel. So we're still making sauce, which you've seen us make many times, but we also thought it might be quite nice to have some sun-dried tomatoes or their equivalent saved in oil for future cooking over the year and through the winter. So all I've done to start with is to take a big bowl of tomatoes that have come in from the polytunnel. I cut a simple cross in the bottom, popped these in a large pan of boiling water and left that to cool, and that allows me to peel the skin off. Now, as I've said on previous videos, I'm a pretty lazy cook and preserver, so I don't love this stage, but for this particular recipe I think it's probably a good idea to get the skins off, and actually doing it this way with the boiling water, it really doesn't take very long at all. Another good way to do it is to freeze them first, and then when they defrost, the skins just peel away. So having peeled the skin off, I'm then cutting them into quarters and laying them on the drying rack. Simple as that. Now the dehydrator's instruction book says these should take between 6 and 24 hours, which is a pretty big time frame window, but I assume that just depends on the size of the tomatoes that you're drying. These are pretty big ones. These are the Auroras. I think they're all Auroras this time. No Latars, is that how you say it, Danny? In this batch. So these are all paste tomatoes, nice fleshy paste tomatoes, which are great for sauce, but I think will also be good for this recipe too. So I'm going to get on with this, and then I'll catch you up with what else has been going on the small holding this week. The other exciting thing is that Mr. H has got next week off. It's the weekend now, but he has got next week off, and so we have some big projects that need a little bit of time dedicating to them, which we are going to be able to crack on with this week. I'll show you, he's already started with the strimming and mowing of the big field. You'd seen we'd already done a pathway around that. He's managed to do loads more on that already and is planning to continue on with that over the next couple of days. And my big project for this week is that second sort in the workshop, which I told you about in an earlier video, trying to get ready for being able to just get that organised. I've been putting it off, and it's been a job that kept getting pushed back, but the trouble is it's one of those kind of linchpin jobs, you know. Sometimes there's a job that lots of other things rely on that being done, and in this case, although we can carry on without having the workshop organised, you know, it's perfectly possible not to have a workshop and run a small holding. But the issue we're having is we just have stuff stored in boxes in various different places. Some of it's in the garage, some of it's in the workshop, some of it's in the garden shed. We've got some stuff inside, and so every time one of us does a job, we leave the tools that we've used somewhere else, and then every time you go to do the next job, it takes ages to find the right tools. They're not in the place you need them to be. They might not have been cleaned properly, because we're also pretty bad for that. So it just makes every job longer than it needs to be, and it's starting to feel a little bit frustrating now. So it is a job that I've been putting off for two reasons. One is it's quite a big job, and getting it all organised feels like it's not really making any progress. So yesterday I spent all day going through the boxes, doing the beginnings of a second sort, to split what I'd already been through and chucked all the rubbish out of. I then had boxes full of stuff, some of which needed to go in the garage, some of it needs to be in the workshop, some of it needs to be in the garden shed. So I've started kind of separating all the stuff out, and it was an all-day job. I did get the storage shelves moved from the workshop into the garage, I also tidied the garage up, which had got into such a state. Our outbuildings are just so easy to just dump stuff when you're in a rush, and then you come back to it and it's hard to find things, so then you move things around and you're making even more of a mess. So the garage had really got into a bit of a state, so I tidied all of that up, moved some stuff around, put some stuff on shelves, made it look a lot neater and nicer in there, so it feels much better in the garage. I'm also going to bring, we've got a little fridge in there that we use as a cheese fridge, which we had plugged in there, but I'm going to bring that into here. It makes more sense for it to be in here, given that this is going to be the dairy, but I need a bit of help with that because I can't carry it on my own. So it was one of those days where I kind of didn't stop all day, and then by the end of the day all I'd done is move things from one place, from one box to another place or another box, and didn't feel like I'd made any progress at all or kind of had a useful day, and that can feel a bit frustrating, but the reality is it was a useful day because those sorts, as I do them, will gradually get more and more granular, and we will be able to finally, when it's all done, know where our tools are and try and get into good habits of putting them back where they came from, rather than just kind of leaving them wherever the job was that we were doing. I was watching a YouTube video of somebody else doing their workshop the other day to try and inspire myself, and his mantra was, don't put it down, put it away. I think that is an excellent mantra for us to try and adopt as well. The other reason that I've been putting off doing it, and probably the bigger reason really, is that I think I've spoken before about I do need to build some storage in there, and for that involves needing some materials, wood ideally. We've looked at a variety of different potential storage solutions, including ones that you buy kind of ready-made. We've looked at IKEA, we've looked at B&Q, we've looked at online shops, but the cost of storage, racking, even simple shelving is just so expensive. So then I'd planned to go back to doing what I've done in the past, which is I really like to use pallet wood, recycled wood, bits of old pine furniture, that kind of thing that you can pick up generally on Marketplace and other places like that. I don't use Marketplace because I'm not on social media, but I use a site called Trash Nothing. And so I thought, right, I'll do that instead. I will pick up some secondhand wood, some furniture, some stuff that other people are chucking away. I've got a cheap planer thicknesser, and I've got a table saw so I can make up my own panels, and I have done that on several occasions. I made a built-in wardrobe for little miss in our last house. I made kind of wall storage, a bit like pegboards, but made out of wood for the workshop we had in the old house, and I really quite enjoy doing that. But it is it's time consuming, and that is the one thing we don't have a great deal of at the moment. And the other thing is that it requires a lot of scrap wood. And as I said on a previous video, we are really struggling to find a source of pallet wood here in Lincolnshire. A lovely follower did send me an email with a potential lead in Leicestershire. Thank you very much for that. I did get in touch with them, and unfortunately we are a little bit too far out for them to be able to work with us to bring us some pallets. But I did really appreciate that, so thank you very much. But we just can't. I've reached out to everybody I've kind of met here as we've been living here. No one's really got a source. I think probably because lots of people are doing similar things to us, and so it's not like when we were living in the town where there were pallets kind of kicking around and people just didn't want to have to take them to the tip, so they were giving them away. I think being rural, I guess there's a lot more use for them for all kinds of purposes. So we're really struggling to get hold of any. Is the short version of that very long story. And so in the end, we've just decided to bite the bullet. I've got some wood in the workshop, but really I want to keep that for the, there's probably just about enough with everything we brought with us from the old house to make the compost bays that we would like to make, and in order to do that I really need to have the workshop set up with my tools ready to cut and plane and sort the wood out. So I was getting into this kind of silly catch-22 where I needed tools to get the wood ready to make the storage to put the tools in, and that I was just going around in circles and getting all kind of delayed, and then I'd just keep walking away from it. So we have bitten the bullet, and I have purchased, which I hate doing, some MDF and some 2x4 wood, which is coming in the next week. I kind of set myself a really strict budget, and what we've got coming is what I can use, and after that I won't be buying any more. So I'm going to, when that arrives, use that to start to build our first cabinets for storage, and then I'm hoping that will give me the impetus I need to get going with the other jobs in the workshop. So that's where we're at with that, and once I've done these tomatoes, then I'm planning to get back in the workshop and carry on with sorting through stuff. It does just feel like I'm constantly moving things from one box to the other, but there is in the long term it's worth spending the time, even though it can feel a little bit frustrating when you don't kind of see any major progress all at once. So that's the workshop. Mr. H, as I said, is working on the big field this week. I suspect that will probably take him a large part of this week. He is doing it by hand. We don't have any big equipment to help us. There was quite a funny moment where he was out in the field with the strimmer trying to hand strim 3 acres of grass, well, now hay, and the neighbour's field. The farmer went in with his tractor and kind of did it in about 10 minutes time and bailed it all up. Mr. H was there watching with his hand trimmer, thinking I'm doing something wrong here. Now the truth is, some of you are going to say, why don't you get the farmer to do it? Some of you are going to say, why don't you just, for goodness sake, buy a mini tractor or a quad bike or something, or even a ride-on mower, and all of those things are possible. So we do have the farmer's number, the local farmer who could come and do it for us, but he does that in return for taking the hay, and we would like this year to keep the hay for ourselves, and I'm sure he would probably do it for some cash, but as I've mentioned a couple of times, we don't have tons to spend. We've kind of smashed through the budget that we gave ourselves to spend in the first year. There's been a couple of unexpected costs, including, for example, the wood that I've just bought for the workshop, although I have kept that to a minimum. But we don't have the cash to be asking someone to come in and do it for us. We certainly don't have the cash to buy a mini tractor or a ride-on mower or a quad bike, as much as we would both love any one of those. It is an expensive endeavour. Even second-hand, they're really expensive, and to be honest, although we will have a go at pretty much everything, we are not afraid of getting stuck in and doing things ourselves. Mechanics is neither of our strong points. We don't know anything about mechanics, and even the petrol powered machinery we do have, that kind of small garden things. We've got a chipper that we can't get to work half the time. We've got a hedge trimmer that is really temperamental. So we do find kind of petrol powered stuff, mechanical stuff, a little bit tricky. So if you multiply that up to a second-hand tractor, we just wouldn't have a clue what we were doing. So I think it would probably be a false economy to get second-hand. So we could get new, and there are some smallholding kind of sized versions of tractors that you can get, but you're looking at, well over £10,000 to do that, and that there just isn't any possibility for us to do that. Similarly, a ride-on mower, you can get that for a bit less. It would still be too much of an outlay for us, given it only does one job. So you do have to kind of think in the long term. If we got a ride-on mower, yes, it would mow the lawns for us or the paddocks for us, but that's all it would do. And then if we do eventually save up enough to get a mini tractor, which we could put the flail mower on the back of, then we've kind of wasted that money. So we do keep looking, we keep hoping there's going to be some bargain crop up, but it hasn't. And so because we want to keep the hay this year, we're just doing it by people power, and that takes time. As I've said, there's always 3 things. You can have 2 of them. Everybody wants everything quick, cheap and high quality. You can't ever have all 3. You have to sacrifice one. With the fields, we're sacrificing quick, and we're doing it slowly and with a lot of hard work on Mr. H's part. So that's that. I'm nearly there with these tomatoes. I'm on the 3rd tray. I think we're going to have a lovely little haul of sun-dried, and if they work, what I'll probably do is start splitting the haul between dried tomatoes and sauce tomatoes. Although you always think you've made enough tomato sauce, and then I know the last 2 years I think, oh, I've made loads of tomato sauce. I'm going to stop now and just eat the tomatoes fresh, or do something else with them, or even kind of stop harvesting them. And then every year we run out of tomato sauce well before the next season comes around. So, and this year there's 5 of us, not just 3. So I do need to try and make lots. One of the other things I'd like to learn how to do, but I've never done, is canning. So we, at the minute, are making the sauce and freezing it, which works really well, but we are going to run out of freezer space pretty soon. So I need to find another way to store our tomato sauce. The most obvious way is canning. I have never done any canning. Somebody did comment, I think I talked about in a previous video, that we weren't going to invest in a canner this year for the same reasons we're not investing in the other things I've just talked about. But a couple of people did suggest that you can actually water bath tomatoes. I don't know anything about water bathing, but I think you can just do that with kind of normal kitchen equipment. So another thing I'd like to do this week while Mr. H is off and we have a little bit more time between us, is to investigate what exactly that involves, and importantly what the risks are, because I've never done it. I don't want to give us all some horrible illness by doing it wrong. So I will investigate carefully, see what the risks are and whether they are risks that are worth taking. I know that the other option is potentially to we do have a Ninja and pressure cooker, and I know some people use those to pressure cook as well. So I'll do a little bit of investigation and see what the best way and the safest way to preserve everything is. There we are, 3 trays of tomatoes ready to be dehydrated. Put the lid on, flick that on, and I'll bring you back probably in the next video to show you how these have done. Okay, with the tomatoes drying, I'm going to show you progress we've made here in the garage, and then we'll get on in the workshop. Now, I'm not sure we had a before of in here, but basically you couldn't see this floor. It was a complete tip. So yesterday involved lots of organising and tidying. There's the garlic above the fridge, and these 2 racks are all completely new. They were in the workshop. I took everything off of them that was in the workshop, brought them in here and restacked with items that belong in here. So these are more kind of DIY painting materials, stuff to do with the septic tank, stuff for mixing concrete. That's a tiling shelf. This is stuff to do with kind of the car, plastering tools up here, and there's more to come in. And then that very dusty looking little mini fridge is a wine fridge, which we use as our cheese fridge, and that's going to come in to the dairy. And because we love Christmas, that entire area there is pretty much all Christmas decorations. And then luggage and cleaning supplies and stuff for the garden and so on and so forth. So garden tools down here. So that is much tidier, much clearer than it was. May not look like much to many of you. It could be much more organised, I'm sure, but compared to what it was, we are really happy with that. So I'll take you next door and show you what I'm doing in the workshop. So coming round to the workshop, these are the boxes that have now been emptied. So they did have tons of stuff in, which has been sorted as part of the second sort into these 3 piles here. These are tools that will stay here in the workshop. That's stuff that does need to stay in here and go on into the new storage, and that box there has got stuff in it to go in the garage. These 2 are things to go in the garden shed, and then I've got the table saw still to be set up. These are all my clamps. They're going to need some sort of storage solution. That's my planer thicknesser, and then these 3 boxes are what are left to sort today. And then we're going to get this flooring down and get the floor fully covered. So that is today's goal. I will not make you see that in real time, but I'll give you a little bit of time-lapse footage of that. Let's see how we get on. On a completely separate note, and while I think about it, does anyone have any good audiobook recommendations? I have been listening to the Thursday Murder Club series, the Richard Osman books, and have been really enjoying those, but they have now finished. I've run out, and I love to listen to audiobooks while I'm working. So if anyone's got any recommendations, let me know in the comments. As is so often the case with these things, getting the floor down isn't running as smoothly as we'd hoped, as I'd hoped, because we have 2 different types of flooring, which looked as though they had the same fastenings, but they're ever so slightly different from one another. So they're not slotting together as well as they need to, and that's causing some bubbling in the floor. So rather than force it, I think what I'm going to do is edge, so there's a straight edge, so create one kind of rectangle with one type and use this edging stuff to give it a flat edge. And then with the others, I don't have any edging for the others, but I can cut them. I've got some that are cut with straight edges because they were in our old workshop. We took them up from there, the old stuff, and then butt the 2 flat edges up together, and hopefully, because we're covering the whole floor, it shouldn't move around, and that should be okay. I am a bit worried. I'm not entirely convinced I have enough to do the whole floor. I've only got half the room clear at the minute, so I'm going to have to move everything to that half as well before I find out. But that's where we're at. We'll see how we go, and hopefully I've got enough to cover the floor. If not, we'll have to go and get some more. Quick side quest. Mama Wilkes is making some cottage pie for dinner and has requested a side dish, so I am going to take some of this broccoli for our tea tonight. Thankfully, I'm not that frightened of them. But I have just disturbed, in fact they've all disappeared, Aragog and his family living down in this corner behind this wood. The most enormous spiders. I can just see their legs. Hang on. Can you see the legs poking out? There was about 8 of them that size. All went running as I pulled the wood out. I'll be gentle. Try not to disturb them too much, but there's not a lot I can do. I've got to move that wood, so they're being evicted. So I've got the 2 different types of flooring down in 2 sections. I'm going to need 1 more pack to finish off that corner there, and then that will be the floor done. It's a shame we didn't quite have enough, but these things happen. At least it's just 1 more pack. I'll just spin you around and show you. That's the old flooring that came from our previous workshop, repurposed in here, and then that's a section of new. So I just need 1 more pack to go in that section there, and then that will be the floor done. So I'm going to have a bit of a clear up. I'm going to take that box into the garage, and then I think I'm probably done in here for the day. The MDF to build the cabinets, which are going to go on that wall, should be arriving towards the end of this week. So whether I will get to those before I go back to work, I don't know, because Saturday I'm going wedding dress shopping with my sister who's getting married next year, so that's exciting. But it does mean I won't be here for the weekend, so I'm down with her for the weekend. So we just have this week, and I'm not sure that the wood is arriving in time to do that. I was just, as I was sorting through all of this wood, I was looking and double checking myself, and we definitely don't have enough with what we have to create what we need, and I'm definitely going to need to use everything we've got here, plus we've got a couple of pallets outside to create the compost bays that I've got in my mind, which are probably going to be over-engineered compost bays, but I've got this kind of quite clear picture of what I want them to be like. So they are going to be the first project that we create in this workshop once the workshop's up and running. So we're there for now. I think I'm going to go and take you over to see the progress Mr. H is making, and then might be time to do some weeding. See how we go. I'm just walking up to the field now. Poor Mr. H has been back and forth with carrying fuel out to the field to keep refilling the push mower. Oh, bravo. He's done loads. Let me turn you around and show you. So it's difficult to see on the screen just how much he's done, but bear in mind this is a 3-acre field. So everything up to about where you can sort of see that line there, where it's a bit greener the other side of it, has all been trimmed, so that we can take for plenty of hay. I'll show you, that's cut nice and long to be able to gather up as hay to go in the barn over there. So huge amount done trimming, and then he's switched over now to the mower, which is a little bit less taxing. I mean, still not easy, but a little bit less taxing, and he's just doing the middle section with the mower because we're going to have more than enough hay just with all of this that he's trimmed down here. Look, tons of it. And then the stuff in the edges will have to be trimmed because we don't think the mower will get through that. So now he's just, bless him, walking round and round in ever decreasing circles to finish off this central bit. But we need to do it this week really, because it's got to be done before the rains come and it starts to get colder, because then it'll all go to mush and won't be able to mow it. So his entire weekend has been this, just up and down, either with the strimmer or the mower. He is an actual legend, as you all know. So there's progress on the field. Slight change of plan. There is plenty of weeding to be done in here, but more urgently, I've just remembered it is time to grab that and fresh wood chip day and clean out day for the chickens again, which you saw us do in the last videos. We do that every week. I've not done it yet this weekend, so I'm going to do that first. I'm also going to, easy for you to say, I'm also going to clean out the guineas because it involves the same stuff, so I'll do all that in one. So I won't film that, that's not too exciting for you, and I'm not sure then how much time I'll have left in the day, but I will come back to you. This may be the end of the video, there might be a bit more. I'll let you know later. Super quick, because I'm in the middle of cleaning out the guineas. I've come through the polytunnel and have spotted that our melons, I think these are the Minnesota midget. I'll need to double check and I'll pop it on the screen. We already had 2 that have come off the vine by themselves, and I've got another 2, possibly another 5. I'm just going to check over here because there's 3 down here. Let me just see if these are coming off. Yeah, these are ready too. In fact, that one's gone a bit funny, but I can cut that bit off. So really early, but I guess because of the weather we've been having. Oh, that one really is a midget. But they're delicious. I will double check that is the right name for them. But they're like a gala melon and they are gorgeous. The watermelons aren't quite ready yet. Let me spin you around and show you. There's the watermelons, and I cannot remember what these ones are called. They look like squash, but they're definitely melons. Now I wonder if that one is ripe because it's yellow compared to the others, which are still green. Yeah, look, that's come off. So I'll find out what that is and I'll tell you if that one's delicious as well. But those ones are gorgeous, so yummy. And then I think that's the only yellow one of those I've got. So it's called Prescott Fond, this one, the one that looked like a squash, and it is very yummy, but I think the Minnesota midget has it for flavour. The Prescott Fond is good, but the Minnesota midget is better. This is the reason why nothing ever gets finished around here, which is that I keep getting distracted. So I thought I would show you this tree here, which was laden with apples, but every single one of them, bar 3, which I rescued yesterday when I realised what was happening, have been attacked by wasps. I don't know if you can see, there's a load of them in there, and they've been hollowing them out, eating them from the inside, and then they just shrivel up and fall off the tree. Now I'm all for sharing, but come on guys, the whole tree's worth? So now every time I'm out here, I'm looking really carefully at all the other fruit. The pears are looking fine. In fact, they're looking really well. Lots of them. Still firm though, not ready to bring in, because I've been tempted just to harvest everything to stop the wasps getting to them. These pears equally. I'm gonna have to turn you around, I can't angle it this way, hang on. These ones are smaller than the other tree, but still really hard. You can see now better how many apples, how many pears we've got on that tree. That one looks like it's been damaged, but most of them are fantastic. And then these apples over here, although the tree is pretty bare of leaves, the apples so far haven't been attacked by wasps. So I don't know whether to just harvest them. Same with these cookers, which I think are ready because we keep getting them dropping on the floor. So I might harvest those. And then these ones over here, equally not wasp damaged yet. but they're also, I don't think they're quite ready to come off, because they're not just, you know, with gentle pressure, they're not trying to come off the tree. So I don't think they're ready, but it would be a real shame if we lost them all. And given that the wasps are now working on the very last one on that really bright red tree, it would be a shame, wouldn't it? So you see, contemplating stuff like that means I'm halfway through about 3 jobs. I haven't finished any of them. I'm going to go and do that now. Whilst I was in the middle of finishing those jobs, Mr. H came in and said, I'm going to have a shower and collapse. I'm done. All right, fair enough. It's getting on. So I thought I'd come out and see how far he'd got. Holy macaroni, check this out. He's done the whole interior. Just in one day. That's got to be... I'm terrible with space and distance, but I reckon he's done 1.5 acres mowing today. All that's left now is trimming along these 3 edges. I say all that's left, I mean that's another day's work, if not more. But check it out, that is impressive. Well done, Mr. H. My heart is sinking slightly because the deal was he'll mow it and I rake it up and bring it in. And now I'm looking at it. Oh my word, that's going to be a job. Amazing though. Best part of 3 acres, mown by hand or trimmed. See, who needs a tractor? Right, chickens are done. Guineas are done. The melon is all chopped up and in the fridge. I've watered the polytunnel. I've reminded myself that we need to treat the chickens for lice tomorrow with the powder. I'm hoping to get this video up tonight, so I'm going to stop here, go and do some editing before dinner, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for coming along today. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you soon.